Mixing music in 3D is finally here. In this video, we're going to talk about Dolby Atmos, immersive audio, spatial audio, and more. This is Alex Pro Mix. Let's go. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Alex Pro Mix. My name is Alex here on YouTube, and this is the channel for you if you're a producer, artist, or engineer looking for the best tutorials on the web for mixing and mastering. In this video, we're going to talk about mixing in 3D and why that is not just a fad, but this is actually the new standard, in my opinion, moving forward, and how producers are able to express themselves musically and engineers are able to take that and make a surreal 3D mix that's going to sound great, feel great, and cause the music to just really translate to the listener. That's what excites me most about this whole issue of 3D mixing. So in this video, I'm going to simplify some things for you. You guys might have heard the terms Dolby Atmos and immersive audio and, spatial audio. What does that all mean? Well, to simplify it, Dolby Atmos is a mixing standard that's been used in post-production and movies for years. In fact, I saw the first Dolby Atmos movie, which was The Hobbit, years ago, where you went to a movie theater and they had all these speakers around you and it just gave you like this high resolution audio experience as you're watching the movie. That's been around for a while. What's new is that now it's available for music mixing, which means that your 3D Dolby Atmos mix will translate on headphones, on earbuds, it will translate on sound bars, it will translate on a playback system that's configured with Atmos. And that's really, really exciting. Before we dive into all the technical stuff, such as MP4 and ADM BWF and re-rendering, let's have a look at the simplicity and the difference between stereo and binaural playback. For this, I'm going to ask you guys to pause this video, grab your favorite headphones, plug them in, and join me in on these demonstrations. For this first example, I'm going to play a shaker loop, and the shaker is going to go from center to left, to center, to right, to center. This is the way that we've been accustomed to hearing stereo mixes on headphones. In this next example, we're going to listen to a binaural example, which is going to pan this instrument, this percussion, around your head to the left, behind you on the right, and back in front of you. Check it out. Now, what makes this possible in the binaural mixing is the binaural configurations of the Dolby setup. And this allows you to create a 3D landscape when you're mixing instruments, you're mixing piano, guitars, pads. You can put the guitars in front and on the sides. You can put the piano in front of you. You can put the pads behind you. And all of a sudden, you have this amazing three-dimensional space in your mix. And we're going to take a look at that in a minute. Since we're using Pro Tools, let me show you how to configure the Dolby software with Pro Tools. Under the setup, you're going to choose Playback Engine. And Playback Engine, you're going to select Dolby Audio Bridge. Traditionally, if you're using an audio interface such as a Focusrite, Personas, Universal Audio, you're going to select that as your audio interface. In this case, we're going to use this virtual sound card or virtual audio playback engine to route the audio from Pro Tools to the Dolby renderer. That's basically going to take all the audio from here and route it to this piece of software called the Dolby Atmos renderer. So that's the first step. We're going to click OK. Next, you're going to go to Setup Peripherals and go to Atmos and enable the connection status, the RMU host, which is going to be your computer, and link object and audio recording. Back in the day, there was an RMU unit, which was $10,000, and this was used to record your master files, basically your stems and things that you're going to deliver for the movies, if you're mixing for a film. However, the software makes it possible that you can actually render that on the same computer. You can still use an RMU as a separate machine, but having this on the same system allows you the affordability of $10,000. Come on now, You got 10,000 bucks, you can spend that on your speakers. So we're gonna click OK, and that's all we need to do in Pro Tools to get started. Next, we're gonna jump into the Dolby Atmos renderer. We're gonna go to Preferences, Driver, Core Audio, Audio Input Device, Dolby Audio Bridge, and check this out, Audio Output Device, AirPods Pro. The reason this is super extra cool is that when you distribute your music, your Dolby file, your Dolby master, and it gets played on Apple Music, Apple uses a special encoding called Spatial Audio, and this allows me to hear what my Dolby mix is going to sound like on my AirPods, just as when my music that's distributed on Apple Music is going to sound like on my AirPods. And this is a really cool feature because this allows me to make mix moves in Pro Tools that are going to translate on Apple Music and on my phone. All right, that's the first thing. Driver, headphone only mode, we're going to enable that. And then headphone, instead of stereo, which was that first example I showed you guys a few minutes ago, we're going to switch that to binaural. Cool? Accept. All right, so here we have what's called a bed. This is called the 712 bed. And this automatically gets routed from Pro Tools using the I/O setup. But we're going to ignore that for this demonstration. In fact, we're going to use these objects. You basically have 128 channels. So you have the first 10 channels dedicated to the bed, and they have channels 11 through 128 dedicated to single mono objects. That's important to understand. So that means in Pro Tools, I can take any instrument. I can take the lead vocal, and I can basically place it in front of me, above me, behind me, on the side of me. Now, the creative intent for artists, producers, and engineers is not to confuse the listener, but to enhance the listening experience. So you have to be very judicious on how you're mixing in Dolby. Unfortunately, there is no easy way to just take a stereo mix, put it through a plugin, and automatically have a 3D master. It doesn't really quite work that way. You still need to engineer it. You still need to plan. You still need to make decisions. And you still need to serve the music and do what's best for the song versus trying to show off for your friends. Come on now, you guys know what I'm talking about. So for this demonstration, I have a stereo master, which was already approved by the client. And they wanted to create a Dolby Atmos version for the YouTube release, which we did. So all these buses have processing on them. They have EQ on them. They have compression on them. They have multiband compression. Typical stuff that I would do on vocal tracks, strings tracks, keys, guitars, bass, and drums. So let's go ahead and play this from the top. You guys can check it out. Here we go. All right, good. So that gives you guys an idea what the mix sounds like. This is actually not the stereo mix. This is the Dolby mix because everything's going through the render, and I've gone ahead and spatialized that out. The artist name is called Benny John Joseph, and the producer was Calvin Emmanuel, with some incredible musicians, live drums, live guitars, live bass, and then all the programming was done by Calvin himself. All right, so let's have a look at the session and how we planned this ahead. Now, there is a video on mixing Dolby Atmos with Steve Genowick from Capitol Records. He's been doing it for about 4 years. So I took a lot of his techniques and I implemented them into my mix as a disclaimer, and I'm showing you guys how I achieved that. All right, so the thing about mixing in Dolby Atmos is that you can't approach it like stereo, because when you're mixing in stereo, you basically, get a good balance of your drums, of your bass, of your guitars, of your vocals. Just slap a mix bus across your master, you slap a Pultec, you slap a Shadow Hills, and it's like, oh yeah, this is nice, this vibes together, right? But you can't do that in Atmos because there is no two bus. There is no mix bus compressor. In fact, there's a 712 bed, which only 2 plugins work out of my machine, FabFilter Pro Q3 and FabFilter Pro L. And then the individual objects, which are mono, are being routed to the renderer. They don't have mixed bus compression. So you have to think how you are mixing. You have to reapproach your mixing techniques and skill. And I think that's a great opportunity that allows us engineers to become creative in this new dynamic landscape that is called 3D. So what I did is I went ahead and kept all the stereo elements intact, but then I took individual sounds that I wanted to put around the listener. So everything's being bussed to this object bed right here. Let's go ahead and blow this up so you guys can see it. And this object bed is comprised of a front aux, which are basically left and right speakers, center aux, which would be a center speaker, side forward, which would be corner speakers in front of me, side back, which are speakers are behind me, and rear aux, which are speakers all the way behind me, high front aux, which would be speakers above me, above the stereo speakers, high center aux, which would be speakers above me, high rear aux, which would be high ceiling speakers behind me. I know this sounds complex, but just follow me here. All right. So everything's going to these buses, and these buses are going to objects, and these objects are assigned to object channels here on the Dolby renderer. So that basically means I'm ignoring the bed, the 712 bed, which is purple. I'm ignoring that, and I'm starting my own bed from 11 to 20. All right. I use the LFE channel, which is basically right here, that can be routed directly from Pro Tools. And then I have other single channels like here. These 4, these are the ones that are either set to near distance, mid distance, or far distance. I'll get into all those details in a different video. Just follow me here. All right, so what that means is that if I want all the instruments to go into the front aux, they're basically going to be routed to the main speakers left and right. But if I want to feed something to be a little bit more center, like an aux send for the vocals, which I did, I feed it to the center aux. And then all of a sudden, you have the music, but the vocals is just coming up more forward in the mix. It's actually a really cool effect. So let's have a listen to the guitars, because I think I did some really cool things here that you guys will benefit from, all right? So let's open this up. This is a folder with all my guitars, and I have 2 acoustic guitars here represented by the color yellow. Let's hear the first one. Now both of these guitars are going to the front aux, which is basically just these 2 positions here, watch. And while that's playing back, I'm going to turn these on. So I'm going to use my controller here, and I'm going to slide this fader up. When I slide this fader up, it's basically going to take the guitars and put them around the corner areas. You're going to hear an effect of the guitars becoming a little bit wider. Check it out. So instead of sending the guitar to 2 speakers, I'm sending it to 4 speakers that are in front of me and somewhat on the side of me, giving that wide effect. So that's the first thing. The second thing is to take electric guitar elements, such as this dotted guitar delay, and put it on the side back channels and then put it on the high ceiling channels. So that is going to sound like this. So what's interesting about that here you see reflected is that the guitars are coming through the front, but then I'm adding them to the sides and I'm adding them to the ceiling. And that basically takes the guitars and distributes them across multiple areas, not even speakers, just around you really. And so I'm able to combine both the guitars that are in the front going to the corners, which are wide, and then the electric guitars that are going on the side and above me. So altogether, the guitar arrangement sounds like this. let's move on to the piano. On the piano tracks, I did a similar approach where the pianos were primarily front and wide, and then the pads were in the rear. And that combination is cool because now the pianos and the pads have their own distinct locations, and it gets for more clarity for the listener. Check it out. So then together, the keys and the guitars sound like this. Cool, so that gives you guys an idea of what you can do and how you can explore the 3D image. Before I let you guys go, let me play the end part of the song where everything comes in. You got choirs, you got strings, you got percussions, you got risers, you got swells. Everything is basically placed in its own image in this virtual space. So here we go. So that's all the time that we have for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it as an introductory to immersive mixing. If you guys have any questions, please leave them below on the chat, and I'll be sure to answer them as best as my ability is. And also be on the lookout for more videos and content on Dolby Atmos mixing. Again, my name is Alex, here with Alex Pro Mix. If this is your first time watching, I invite you to subscribe, like, and share. This channel was created for you, the artist, the producer, and the engineer. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I'll see you again real soon. Peace.